nature does things. So while we have less than 180 seconds to official hard start, we've already had one vote for a recap. So before diving in, what is it that you remember? Theo? Where do you remember us being?
Give me a second. Let me.
1,000.
Okay, so I'm drawing a blank. Drawing a complete blank.
We were at the bus station.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, got it. Bus station. I failed a critical role, so I'm about to frenzy, and my sire was taking my testimony to go kill them.
Your sire was taking your what now?
A touchstone.
Gotcha.
That is an interesting perspective. It is not quite accurate, and that's fine. That these things happen. They are expected to happen. If you ask 6 people who all witness the same events, what happened, you'll end up with 12 different stories. This is the nature of the world in which we live. And it is very much the nature of the world in which the kindred live. When last we left the coterie, having concocted a plan, an idea, and a goal, they arrived at Union Station, which is the central intercity connection for the railways that reach across the country. What that means in regards to that, every major and many minor cities have rail stations that get you around the city. They allow commuter and general transportation from one end to another, or from one part to another for within the city limits. Intercity rail it could be considered cross-state, but generally connect not only across from city to city, but state to state, but also from coast to coast in most cases, north and south and east and west. Intercity hubs such as Union Station, Grand Central Station in New York, Pennsylvania Station, Jamaica Station in New York as well. You got the Northeast Corridor, the several similar intercity hubs across the nation. They're links in a chain that move people from city to city and state to state. It is where you go for the train, whether it's the local Jaguar or Lynx or the Metra or what have you. Internally, externally, because they are intercity, there are also hubs for things like the Megabus, the Greyhound, the Pace, the what have you. These are major transportation centers, and while they've been outshined and upstaged by airports and helipads and heliports and jetways, they are still vital portions of infrastructure. Most people don't consider them as such. Most people look past them. Most people consider them antiquated. However, they are major hubs of transportation. And what that means is there is a level of actual security present that most have grown inured. There are no TSA agents telling you to remove your shoes or to flip your socks inside or out or take off your belt before going through the x-ray machine or anything like that. Your bags are typically not x-rayed right in front of you. Your personhood isn't violated by the backs of hands of people who aren't paid enough to touch anyone except for themselves. Yet the security actually is in place. There is specific railway security, many of whom are undercover or wearing plain clothes. There are hundreds of cameras, not just those carried in every citizen's pocket. There are checkpoints in places that there are dogs and various chemical sniffers present. There are actual security measures and not just a theater of security. is what this boils down to. Union Station is that dog. Situations arise where people simply disappear down corridors and down hallways towards security offices where they are grilled, questioned, and otherwise investigated with the speed and alacrity of the full force of a relatively privatized police force that has as much and considerably more leeway of operation than the TSA. While the TSA can deprive you of your personhood and your agency and your consent, railway security can deprive you of all of those things plus more. You can be immediately impounded, imprisoned, and moved from one of their private out-of-the-way jail cell to an actual jail cell, an actual prison in the blink of an eye. Your rooms and places where, if you are an actual threat or perceived as an actual threat, you cease to have access to anything at all. Of this actual security, not just a theater of it, we find our 3 coterie members. Guys bundled up and trundling along, mixing in with the Amish, the Pennsylvania Dutch, the traveling Native Americans, the width and breadth of individuals who either don't have enough, didn't save up early enough, or couldn't simply get the flight that they needed. You have people moving downstate to go to college, moving out of state to go to jobs, moving across the country because it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip. They've seen movies like Silver Streak or Runaway with Denzel and the other guy that played Kurt. They've glommed on because there is a difference in price. You still get the same amenities, a seat, an occasional view, food, and restroom as you would on the plane, as you would on the bus if you brought your own food. And you get the advantage of having earned the tired, the jet lag that you get from racing through the sky. You get to feel the time pass. You get to read a book and enjoy the scenery or the snoring of your neighbor. You get the opportunity of traveling and feeling every mile. In this mix, this volatile chemical reaction, kindred, security, people. Theo spies his sire. And in spying his sire and his twin, his sense of self, things that matter to him, are embattled. It's a battle that he has no intentions of winning. His darker self, his intrusive thoughts, the truth behind the jests and smiles and asides, the portion of himself that has every intention of causing harm, at a minimum, to those things that threaten what he values. He has been trained well. He has been conditioned near Pavlovian-like to respond with all due, unbridled violence. He sees this. They're close enough to watch the mood change, the air around him to grow 10 degrees cooler, to watch as the battle is waged, lost, and, well, no peace treaty is signed, as the devil in his chest becomes the angel in his ear. I'm not quite sure what it was that he saw across the terminal. There is something there, and he does not like it, nor does his beast. Plan was simple. Get through Union Station, get to Joliet, do a reconnoitering of the cult of Helena. They then get back unnoticed, unseen, without causing any trouble whatsoever, and make a plan as to how best to deal with them or to address them. But as the great American poet Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan till they get hit in the fucking mouth. And with that quick update, with that quick recap of where we actually are, the basis of where these kindred are, allow me please to have the opportunity of saying thank you for being here. Thank you for taking part in this hobby. And thank you for your time, your effort, your energies. Do we have any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off?
It sounds like I'm pretty much caught up.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
Being the case, with all of our engines revved, with all of our understandings firmly rooted in this moment, allow me to say that this is officially Soup City Sins, Sheltered or Saved, Lux Tenebrarum Nix, or, without the Latin affectation, a mix of light and darkness. A proper balance of yin and yang, a little bit of light and all of the dark, a little bit of dark and all of the light. There's a balance in that dichotomy. There is a poetry that nothing is all one thing, that everything has a portion of everything else. Like the old Hermetic magicians and wizards and scholars and witches of old, the medicine men, women, and root workers of old who understand or who understood far in advance of the idea of quantum, that like attracted like, everything was part of everything else and was everything else at every time else. Working a bit of magic from hair and blood and bone, the closer the connection, the more powerful the effect. The stronger the intention and focus, the more potent the effect. And there's nothing more potent, nothing more volatile, nothing more dangerous than blood. As the darkness wells up with a fiery light inside you, Theo, as the understanding of all of the years before now and how close to your birthday you are, seeing yourself, seeing your brother, company of your sire, her, much as you hate, as much as you despise, as much as you don't give yourself the opportunity of feeling her, she's absolutely gorgeous. She is, without question, simply aesthetically beautiful. She's also as mad as a shithouse rat. And the lessons that she has taught you and instructs you on, the rhyme, the reason, and the logic of it escapes you predominantly by choice, but also because you don't, the value of it, the reason behind it. What is the lesson? What is the theories that she is attempting to have you master by taking only what matters to you? what was it last year? Who was it last year?
Now, I understand that Theo is on the cusp of insanity and wanting to rip her throat out. But is there a potentiality that he could potentially walk up to his sire and his brother and at least have 30 seconds of a conversation without ripping her throat out?
30 seconds might be definitively pushing it. The idea of closing that distance is very much dressing as a steak-flavored steak and launching yourself into a very hungry predator's cage. You, of course, being the predator and the steak. You know that the 22.5 feet between where you are and where they are, the people milling between and past you, is the only thing keeping you from losing every facet of yourself. To Theo's role, it was in fact a bestial failure. His beast will have its way. So, willingly descriptive. Last year, who did you lose? What value was taken from your existence? And how was it twisted? We know that in your time, she has elevated your much maligned and despised father to actual immortality. We know that she found your actual first love and made sure that they no longer existed. We know that she's ruined the company that gave you your first shot. And we know that your close mutual friends have been hunted by her. But last year, before you made that leap and took a step towards joining something that could potentially stave her off by becoming something and someone more important enough that others would help defend what mattered to you, last year, what was it?
Let me. Is it possible for me to make an insight roll?
What are you attempting to have insight of?
Trying to gain insight of potentially why, besides her being, mad at the shithouse riot, is there any rhyme or reason for why she's doing what she's doing, or is it just I'm doing it because I can?
Oh, you don't need to roll insight for that. She's told you on multiple occasions. She's relayed the validity of truth and fact being the same. She relayed and berated you about your deceit of self and the world around you. You can't find the truth if you delude yourself and the world. Deluding the world is not your true blame or responsibility. While we're moving forward in truth, living in the moment of absolute fact. Yes, this matters to me. Yes, they matter to me. Yes, there are things that affect me. Yes, there are things that help me get past this. That truth, that personal fact being lived in has been the driving goal of all of her actions. That debasement of viewing things askew and maligning yourself and deluding and deceiving The whole of her speech, her monologues, her moments have been driving you to not hide behind anything, to stand nakedly and brazenly in the truth at all times.
Okay. Is there a way that I could communicate with Hestia that I need help in this moment?
What disciplines do you have?
Casting a extremely violent gaze at Hestia. He points over towards his sire and his brother, his twin brother, and hoping that Hestia follows his gaze and his finger to those people, and then he's going to slowly, as he possibly can manage, start walking over there towards them.
She's not going to let him walk away. As soon as he points and she sees what he's looking at and the face on him, she reaches her hand out of the stroller and grabs onto the back of his pants like she usually does and holds on to him. If it's a problem, we'll handle it together. But I don't think you're in a good mental space for dealing with that right now. So you need to tell me what's going on so I can handle it.
I'm gonna walk sort of next to the stroller so nobody can see the hand poking out of it, grabbing onto Theo's pants. I'm gonna keep a hand on the stroller too so it looks like I'm the one moving it, not itself.
Through as much grunts that he can make, every day of my birthday, my death day, she murders someone who means anything to me. He's straining against her hand. She's just strong enough to hold him in place slightly, but he's straining against her. My birth, my death date, she murders someone close to me, and he points towards his brother.
Well, but you realize we're surrounded by, and she motions, so we can't really do anything about it. I'm not gonna let your brother get killed, but yeah. How about this? You stay in the stroller, hold on to it, and I'll distract her. And she works her way back out of the stroller using Maddie as cover, or Madeline as cover, and look, don't let him move, okay?
You got it.
And she walks towards his sire, right up to his brother if she can, and starts pulling on his pant leg like a toddler.
Her moving counter to you all entering Union Station, you're moving back out of the station, you're moving back down the hall towards Jackson.
Yeah, we need to get away from a huge amount of people. So we're trying to put distance between us and the crowd while getting us closer to the sire and the brother so that she doesn't get to leave with him.
So your goal is to attempt to impede their exit.
Yep.
Well, your manipulation and athletics as high as you possibly can.
As a 4.
Good deal. Several things happen at once, as they always do in such moments. Starting with the most catastrophic, first things first. Having spent your reserve to buy yourself a moment of calm, like the walls of Jericho and the dam in every movie without a dike to stick their finger into it, your walls come tumbling down. Your reserves of strength and calm, you're holding on for dear life to that overheated center, that rage that was radiating out like a sun being born. You held it at bay, you kept it tamped down as long as you absolutely could. And while it's a valiant effort, in the grand scheme of things, it is probably one of the most noble things that Theo has had the opportunity of doing. Holding on to his relative calm in the face of all of that adversity. Because the truth of the matter is, nothing's more special, nothing's more sacred than family. Blood or by association. Nothing's more incensing than an obvious, clear threat to those that matter to us. And attempting to not make a scene, attempting to hold himself as still as possible. Theo managed to do the superhuman, the unworldly, the impossible. And then the walls break. Walls crumble, or more accurately, they explode out with the force of all the love that you have for your brother. The distance between where you are and where they are heading towards means absolutely nothing. The people between you and them, or more specifically you and her, means absolutely nothing. The goal is quite simple. If she engages you, if she strikes you down, or she chooses to escape or evade, you'll be keeping him safe, even if it means losing everything you have in the moment. And like a dart, you're off. And while that happens, and you race through the terminal towards them, a heat-seeking missile of vengeance, Hestia, without a burst of speed, without an act of celerity, they are outside of your range, and you realize quite all too late that for all of your disconsideration of Theo's physical capabilities, he is in fact a threat. All of that willfully hidden, obfuscated skill comes barreling towards your target. Okay. Having successfully hidden the absence of Hestia and the stroller, having successfully managed to camouflage the tense interactions between Theo and Hestia, there's a small feather in your cap. The used clothing, washed and clean though they are, gifts from Hestia. The acceptance for what you are from Theo and Hestia, and being included in the plan to get your just deserts from those who had taken everything from you. You were successful. You managed to keep the lid on the pot as long as you were able. And the moment that you all near the restrooms, there on your left as you're heading west into the terminal, he takes off. He tears free from your lightly restrained grip and heads towards them. Heads towards Hestia. Heads towards those people that he saw that set him off like a stick of dynamite. Jig is in fact up, and you spy the uniformed officer speaking into his mobile as he's looking down the terminal. He's not quite sure what's happening yet or how worried he needs to be, but it's clear that he has noticed them taking off. A large...
Did I notice the cop?
You've noticed him. The large hooded individual running through the terminal with the sheer ferocity of, well, an angry bear.
Before the cop can radio anyone, I want to make him forget what he saw with my cloud memory discipline.
That would be a contested role because you normally need a conversation and opportunity and gaining eyes and all of those in particular. We're going to roll them into one conflated roll. He will roll and you will roll. Well, you will roll setting the DC, and then he'll roll with his dice, and we'll see what happens. So roll as high as you possibly can. And then cloud memory, that's manipulation and domination, or is that charisma and domination?
Charisma and domination versus wits and resolve.
Roll as absolutely high as you possibly can. And while that's happening, Asher, Doom comes in many forms. What is it that you're doing?
Seeing as how I'm not going to be able to catch the fire and his twin, I am going to do my best to stop Theo from getting to them. If I have to tackle him around the legs, I will do so, but we need him to not reach them. To give them at least enough of a chance to get away. I hate that this is going on because I know what he's saying and I know what he's thinking is going to happen, but we cannot have him blow our cover in the midst of all these people. So, steady! And grabs his legs to keep him from running further and trips him up.
Excellent. Go ahead and roll your strength plus athletics. And once that roll is made, Theo, roll your strength plus brawl as you mindlessly, aggressively course through the terminal to destroy, distract, and dismay your sire, to free your brother from her clutches before it is in fact too late.
Hmm. When you're rolling that, is strength plus brawl, hunger, character to bring up the character sheet?
You can literally use the syntax in the dice channel to start.
That's what I tried, but it failed. It gave me an error, so that's why I was asking. All right, let me try it again.
I got you. Give me one quick sec. My second is strength plus brawl. All right, hunger. You don't even have to think about it. And your DC is one higher. What did your roll? That's a 5. You need your DC of 6. And this is what your syntax should look like.
Wait, the cop shouldn't get a roll. The rules
Aware.
is written.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
You're effectively acting as a block to the action that was in the offing. So you'll be rolling versus what they were doing. You set the DC with your effectiveness and conflating the catching their eye, conflating the unfortunately exposure to cruelty and their natural reticence to doing anything more than what they want to do that 90% of police officers have is the reason for the role. You're trying to do it fast enough and quick enough that you are actually effective, because you must catch their eye for it to happen. Tension, speed, inflation of all of those things happening at once is the reason for the role.
Okay.
Wait a second, okay? Syntax is not playing fair.
It's sensitive to spelling as well. If you hit the / and R, you should be able to bring up roll. At which point it'll have a scroll list where you can select pool, your hunger, and your difficulty. So in the pool section, go ahead, type that out. Then you'll tab over and then select hunger. Use current, tab over and select the difficulty, which is one higher than Hestia's, and then hit enter. You don't have to use any of the other tracking facets.
It is not liking me currently. Give me a second, storyteller. It is not liking what I'm saying. All right. Strength. Plus brawl. Use current. Difficulty. It's erroring out every time. Oh, wait. It made it. Yes, okay. It made it.
Hestia, what's your actual strength? Just your strength alone.
It's a 3.
Theo, what's your actual strength? Just the dots.
By itself, 2.
So, for the record, you have in fact been hit harder a time or two. You're sure of it. You know for a fact that you've been hit harder. Because while you're a slavering mess, all of the unspoken darkness that you exist within, all of those moments where it really don't fucking matter as long as my bills are paid by Friday, all of those decisions that bound and worse, other living entities. All those moments where you've hunted for the sheer pleasure of causing terror and strife in those that you deem worthy of being hunted by you. All of those times when those darker thoughts raged and raced beneath the surface of you, physically escape you in a snarling, vicious mass of... There's a saying, an aphorism, being cut off at the knees. And have it physically happen. To have one of the last few things of relative pure innocence value to you being led out of the terminal, wooed by her beauty and her conversation and her weave a tale, her ability to be charming, charismatic. Lost in the sauce as your twin exits the terminal and snarling and pulling yourself or attempting to pull yourself free. You watch as they get into an Uber Black there on Jackson and ease out into the late Chicago traffic. It's not your birth date. It's not your resurrecting into the darkness date. So you know that they'll be safe-ish. Alive. Not safe. There's nothing safe in her presence. There's nothing more dangerous than a particular form of truth. Standing nakedly in front of the world. What foolishness is that? Standing ungarbed. No armor, no shield, no weapon, and braving the world. It's foolishness. There's nothing more dangerous than that. Nothing more dangerous than being a slow-moving target, save one that stands still. She's insane. She has to be. And while those conscious thoughts are happening somewhere between your cerebellum and your medulla, the outward expression of that is hissed menace, angry fang-bearing violence. While several score of feet behind you, nearly in the center of this portion of the terminal, headed the way that you were on your way towards, very much moving through. Madeline, his face, there's something, and you know it's not the buzz cut. You've dealt with enough cops in your time, and various flavors of being cops, from vice to gang to major crimes to uniform to off-duty to drunkenly willing to spend whatever it takes to spend time not caring about an ID. Or that abuses their power in the world around them. The sort that simply tries to get through the day. The sort that believes it is their responsibility to avenge all of the wrongs of the world with each and every interaction with anyone not in uniform. You've dealt with the width and breadth of them. And yet, as you attempt to close the distance before, there we got something on the wish terminal. Excuse me, man. Pardon me, excuse me. And as he gently, or police officer, moves you aside, stepping past you towards the snarling, yowling, bloody tear crying Theo, held in place, watching as if seeing the last moments of a dying planet. There's something innocent in that. A new cop, maybe someone who actually believes, maybe someone who actually has a balance of actual non-subjective morality and ethics And in that realization, in that moment, in that distraction of he's moving past you haven't dealt with many innocents. You haven't dealt with many people who believe ethically and morally in what they're doing. Everyone makes excuses. Everyone does what they do to get by, at least until you met the cult, until you dealt with the members of the cult of Helena, the church of Helena, the faith of Helena. They earnestly believe that through pain, there is a heaven on the other side that you can live in day to day to day. And even they, in their orgiastic style of worship, pushing the boundaries of what you are and what you could be, in holding the pain of existence so close as to burn off not only just their fingernails, but the very pads of their fingers. Even they held a core of dishonest lack of innocence. Even their faithful, as your death and present existence is proof of. And they were as close to holy as you had the opportunity of ever meeting. They, for the most part, vast majority of each and every last one of them believes in their vision of how the world can only get better, how through the feminine ideal, true life can be birthed forth only through understanding and respecting that power in all things. Could there be beauty beyond the pain? Could there be a heaven you could live in, a paradise made by your sacrifice in freeing yourself from the jail cell of pain, the fear of it, the focusing on it, the doing things that hurt less instead of doing the things that were right? You so infrequently been near true believer innocence. And Hestia, Theo's a threat. Theo's a threat like very few things have been to you. There was the woman in the parking lot of the church. There were the two clients in the restroom. There was the suburban former athlete in the bathroom of the 454 Club. There were moments over your very long life where you've chosen the lesser of evils and hurt yourself to the core. This is one of those moments. Theo's a threat in this moment because the truth of his being is palpable enough that it feels as if you swallowed a mouthful of burning ash. The soul-sucking, silent dread across his shoulders, pouring out of his eyes and causing his muscles to tremble under his attempt to escape not just your grip, but this moment. Theo's threat. Because while, yes, his fangs are extended and he's snarling, he's a slavering mess, the tears are washing his eyes, he's clearly as close as you are. He's clearly kindred. But he's a threat because of his pain being so succinctly felt and expressed in that moment. You almost lose track of what's going on around you. You almost miss the dark-suited uniformed officer moving through the terminal towards you all. You almost miss Madeline staring after him as if she's seen the second coming of Christ. You almost miss the several individuals beginning to stop and stare, one person reaching into their clear back pocket. You know what everyone carries in their back pocket these days. And you almost miss that. And it's because Theo is a threat. You have never had the opportunity of feeling anything but annoyance in his presence. His intellect, great and furiously ardent as it is, his sense of self indefatigable in the face of every assault of his character, his willingness to rewrite fact before you, making less of things and more of things in accord to his own perception, allowing him to obfuscate who he is. There's an aphorism tossed out all the damn time that gets redundant, like a hot knife through butter. But that is very much the case for Hestia right now. Like a hot knife through butter, the unbridled release of emotionality from him melts away the core from the dross. Everything of him in that moment is revealed so succinctly and is a danger to Hestia. The last person touched her that deeply, outside of Simone, was Alex, for whom she was willing to break all sorts of precedents and teach a Banu Hakim blood sorcery. Theo is a threat. So in the moment, what is everyone doing?
With the cop heading this way, I can't stake him. Otherwise, that's what the fuck I would do. But I can't. Stop this coming. But I need to figure something out. We have to get him out of here. I know the cameras are coming.
I'm gonna try
He's
to
heavy.
yell and convince.
Okay. He's too heavy for me to blink with, right?
Who said that?
Well,
Straight line 50 feet. You got a straight line 50 feet. You can move there almost instantaneously.
That's what she's gonna do then. She's gonna grab hold of them and get them the fuck out of here. Because we cannot, even if in that moment people see her do this, they are not going to catch it on camera and they are not going to be able to reconcile this with something if they don't get to see her say. Like, it can happen in a blink. People were chaotic. It's crazy, but they're not going to be able to prove it. So that's what she wants. She wants to get him out of here without them being able to prove what the fuck's going to happen.
Now, are you blinking with just him, or are you blinking on the way to grab Maddie?
He's not an active danger to anybody. She'll catch up. She'll see us leaving. He's not an active danger to anybody. I need to get him away from people.
Aw, but he likes people, doesn't he? Don't you, Theo?
Love people, especially with some dipping sauce. Side of our gratin potatoes.
LOL. Is Theo going to resist the blink?
No, Theo has crawled inside himself mentally at this moment.
Can I try to get the attention of everyone at the station?
One's distracting a little bit, but you easily attracting a large portion of attention far easier than most would think. Even in a city as inured to strange happenings as Chicago, even in a place as redundantly tired. It is late in the evening. Most of the folks that are here are boarding trains heading for the East Coast. They're going all the way out to Washington, D.C. Some are going all the way down to Miami. Others are heading down to Plano, Texas. Some are heading just a quick south to Joliet and then on to Rockford and otherwise. There are some who are boarding trains for closer destinations than others, but the vast majority of individuals at this station presently are making red eyes. That's going to keep them in one place, in one seat, on one train car for the next 10 to 20 hours. So everyone's tired, grousing, and there's a bit of excitement. Some people who are just, fucking crazy. So yeah, can't wait till I get home. Others are, oh my god, I just want to come into the city. Others still like, oh shit, World Star, get him!
So, before any of them can see a person teleport, I am going to attempt to cause a distraction so they're not looking. And to do that, have you ever seen those videos of those that white woman who goes to college campuses and starts preaching about margaritas and shit?
No.
It's quite entertaining, but I'm basically going to start yelling about Jesus and God and shit in an attempt to make people think that I'm a Christian, a loony evangelical type. So people start filming me and paying attention to me.
Well, that being the case, would you be so kind as to roll your manipulation and performance as high as you can? And has you. Straight line 50 feet, you'll be on the other side of Jackson. Straight through the doors and out if you want. Or you could be 50 feet past and out and further into the terminal. And
the goal is to get him out of the station. I know there are cameras on the street, but the goal is to get him out of such a close cluster of people so that if she can't get control of him, it's less likely to be a massacre.
a lot. That's a
doesn't-
lot of a lot.
Yeah, she doesn't know whether he can hear her or not, but she's going to very lowly, keep talking to him. I know, we have to get her. I'm gonna let her kill your brother if we can stop her, but we have to get you away from these people. We have to get you fed first, and then we'll find them. You can hack that, right? You can hack an Uber. You can find them. We'll get to them later, but you need to calm down right now.
You're talking to him at standard speed of sound, which is doesn't really mean that much as close to him as you are, save for the fact that there's wind shear. And what that means is where you're speaking to him, even though you're right next to him, you're moving faster than that as you cover the distance in a literal blink of an eye. While you are aware of all the distance that's been covered and how fast it's been covered, Theo, this is the first time that you've been smacked by air. And no, not a gentle, the wind pushing against you, causing your clothes to pull free of your body, you leaning into it like a bad Michael Jackson impersonation. No, you are smacked. As if the wind balled up its fist and at the last second opened its hand. It'd be bad enough if it was just open palm straight across, but no, it's the open palm and then the double check with the backwards force of it. You move from the calm, filtered, air-conditioned air of the terminal to the summer heat, standing on the bridge there at Union Station. You literally are smacked with the wind and a sudden immediate shift in what's around you. You've ever seen a dog who has separation anxiety lose their shit in the moment of their dog parent, their family leaving them? They're tearing up the house, they're barking, they're clawing at the door, they're over dramatically howling and yowling until they realize they're not in the house themselves, and they stop immediately. That's what your beast does. That's what your darker impulses does. That's what your intrusive thoughts do. There is a world of pain that it can inflict on someone, and that someone happens to be you, and then it stops because everything changes. The view around it, the world, the sense immediately bombarding it are 100% different than they were less than a second ago. It's still there, it's still upset, it's still gnawing or wanting to gnaw, but it stopped immediately before attempting to slowly ramp back up to where it was, inflicting as much pain on you because it can't inflict pain on the rest of the world. But that pause, that respite, gives you the opportunity of realizing where you are. You're standing on that bridge over the Chicago River at Union Station. You were in Union Station. What the fuck?
Enough of a smack to snap him completely out of that mental state that he was in.
It is, though your darker impulses, your intrusive thoughts, your beast is trying to get back on the, trying to find the right note that it was playing for this particular song a second ago. It's working at, where was that, on the 3rd fret or 2nd fret? Let's play the notes between your notes, guys. All right, everybody, back to positions. Come on, let's get it. And you feel it trying to start back up, but you know the game that it plays. It either cause pain to the world or cause pain to you. It doesn't care as long as someone gets fucked up before the end of the night. That's all.
He looks at Ashir. The tears are slow, then stop, and you can see that the light is back on. He slaps the shit out of himself, like harder than just the whole, the wake up, just like slap in such a way that almost like slapping someone like it was an Olympic sport type slap. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay. We're gonna have to stop her before we have Storyteller. How many days before his death date, his anniversary?
6.
You got 6 days to find her, stop her. But I'm back. We can do this right now, but then from there, gotta stop her. He begins to wipe his face, clearing all the blood-laden tears and other bodily explosions. All right, let's back in the saddle. Let's go.
Well, somebody needs to go get the newbie, but I can't trust you out here by yourself. I know you're saying you're back to yourself, but you don't understand what we just saw. I know you're mad, and I know we need to get a hold of her, but you can't do that to me again. Get it together, people.
I'm back. I'll start working on getting us an Uber.
Well, aren't you going to trace the Uber that they got in?
Can't do it until we get back to my computer.
Are you going to need to eat before then? Because you seem like you're a little hungry.
I'm quite hungry, but I can't eat out here. Kind of a predisposition.
So I hope that they figured out that we're leaving and shit, I gotta go back. I don't.
Go get her. I won't move from this spot.
Okay.
I promise you I won't move from this spot unless my sire comes back just to flip me the bird. I will be right here when you get back.
Hess is going to trust it and go back for Madeline.
There's no greater wound than when trust is abused. And while that's happening on Jackson, while you guys watching the river roil and roll beneath your feet and have that discussion, inside the terminal, do you have a speech for us? You got a prognostication that Maddie's doing in the moment as the cameras come out? People are pointing, some are actually yelling, some guy throws his gum at the wall behind her head by trying to throw it through her face. What speech, what tact, what magnanimous, marvelous display is Maddie up to?
Gonna try to deliver this in character without actually yelling and disturbing everyone I live with.
It's for science, they'll understand.
You're all sinners! I see you around here this Saturday evening searching for margaritas. I know what you do after you drink those margaritas. I know that you suck the dick. I know you finger the pussy, and that is not what God wants. Brothers and sisters, you will find yourselves in the furnaces of hell for the earthly pleasures you seek. I pity you. I pity all of you, because only true heavenly soldiers such as myself shall see the heaven that is promised to all of us.
Shut up, baby! What the fuck is going on here? I heard pussy!
You think that you can finger the pussy, but I promise you, when you put one finger in the pussy, that's one eternity in hell. 2 fingers in the pussy, that is 2 eternities in hell. And when you put all 5 fingers, when you fist the pussy, brothers and sisters, you sentence yourself to being fisted by Satan himself for 5 eternities. That is the future that awaits you. I promise you, if you spend another hour out here in this night, you will find yourself in that very damning situation. Go home before you find yourself fingering the pussies and sucking the dicks. And that's my performance.
There aren't any words to describe how surprisingly effective Maddie is. As ribald and off color as the central conceit of their speech, of their sermon is, as completely insane as that is. There's an old Amish man looking as if he's somewhere between 90 and immortal. His beard properly coiffed, and his hair immaculately cut beneath his hat, clearly by hand and clearly by scissors. He crouches. I have feasted, but she was my wife. She's no longer with us. Perhaps I want to make sure that she's not going into hell. You speak with so much truth and passion, and as he's dropping down on his knees, unfortunately he's blocking the path. So there's a gentleman with a cart carrier that's trying to get past him and causes his luggage to fall. There's a lady who's yelling and screaming, "Not my Gucci!" And it's clear that this is the entirety of her earthly savings wrapped up in a luggage set from last century. This not being enough of a clusterfuck, they managed to block the path of people complaining, trying to step past upon the police officer who was heading down the hall, the exit of the terminal, pursuing Hestia and Theo. Is stopped by the throng gathering, yelling, screaming, throwing gum, and trying to otherwise get past this snarl as the Amish man is converting and making amends for all of his sins that he's managed to get into, and the luggage is spilling and people are complaining. Some people are taking out their camera and filming like, oh my god, you can't believe this shit, look at this shit. Some people are doing it in selfie, taking a front facing video of the moment, standing and turning in a circle, making sure they capture the insanity of everything that's happening. It is worse than rush hour traffic during a Cubs game, Sox game, during the preseason of basketball, happening all at once. While that's happening, just as you're nearing the end of your sermon, Hestia is making her way back into the terminal. Just as Hestia is making her way back into the terminal, Theo, what's your present hunger?
Leave 4.
That is the wrong number, my friend. That is the complete wrongest of numbers. Because of the bestial failure, consider it one higher. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll would you be so kind as to roll the / frenzy DC 3? And while that roll is happening, it is effectively and officially 40 past the hour. Let's take a quick 10 and be back here at 50 after. Testing.
1, 2, 3.
In the back.
Testing.
Hey,
Theo is in the middle of, for the second time this evening, in care, completing one of the great tasks, Hercules, one of the great 12 tasks of him. Because in the midst of being your beast, which is just a psychological tool Kindred use to distance themselves from all of the perniciousness in their hearts, their unbeating dead hearts. It wasn't me, it was the beast. It wasn't my conscious will, it was the beast. It's a attempt to distance themselves from the truth of the aphorism that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And over their immediate environment, in roughly 90% of their engagements with the world, they are the apex predator. They are the power. And because of that, over time, and it varies, days, months, years, decades, and unenviably centuries, that power, that darkness that they fight in varying degrees overwhelms them. That power corrupts them. If all of your darker impulses, all of your negative self-talk was given the opportunity to have flesh and steel and be unending, to match that voice in your head that begins screaming and doesn't stop, to have the non-stop ability to reach across the void and turn off your conscious mind, to lure you in with sweet nothings or somethings, all of the unexpressed expectations, all of the doubts and recriminations of yourself and the world around you. It's not me, it's the assholes I keep running into. It unmans you, and it eventually unseats you. It eventually hardens your ability to care about anything and everything but yourself. Your wants become your needs, become the reasons why you feel vindicated and exercising all of your darker impulses, giving in little bit by little bit. The eventuality is clear for every kindred. Eventually, the beast, eventually your darker thoughts, eventually your negative self-talk and intrusive thoughts will win. But for Theo, moment is not now. For Theo, he manages to hold resolute like Atlas, holding the entirety of the heavens aloft. And as the sweet, coppery tinted scent of the gentleman across the way, standing across the bridge, who has paid the price for panhandling the wrong person at the wrong moment, his cheek leaking bright, gloriously sweet red. Theo holds himself aloft. Theo keeps from giving in, while his eyes are fixated, and he dare not open his mouth, taste the air. And while he grips his fingers tightly and fists wound so tight he's not sure they'll ever open back, he keeps from acting on that moment. While Hestia steps into the terminal, back through the door that she just exited, taking the slow boat to China to get there in a manner that would not attract attention in the blur of motion and velocity. She manages to witness the congregation and convocation of people who don't care about anything but themselves, having an issue with an older gentleman, giving himself up to the truth of his sinful life, the things that he did in his younger days, causing a traffic jam, which is far too normal in Chicago. And at the center of all of this snarl, as the officer is nudging him, gently moving it, singing to him, "Oh, hey, we're gonna start doing this right here." Madeline is there, proselytizing and converting and drawing attention. There are people with their phones out. There are people who are nodding along. There are people who are shoving their way through. There are people who are complaining about luggage. It is a madhouse. But no one's dead.
Being of short stature as I am, I try to weave through people delicately, not shoving anybody, and get as close to her as I can so that I can catch her attention and get her to follow me back out.
Can you cloud memory multiple people?
One way
No,
to
it's
find
only
out.
one at a time.
I take it I can't just leave since people are paying attention to me, so I'm going to, I guess, slip the word forget into my sermon to see if people will start giving me a little less attention now.
So instead of just walking out, Maddie begins to wind down. She begins to play herself off. She slowly returns to the demure, relatively occasionally invisible personage that she had lived as. There's a uncomfortable truth about the unhoused. There's a very real of being invisible. You learn being unhoused that even in places where there are quote unquote bleeding heart liberals, unless of course you make a mess of the place, unless of course you attract attention, unless of course you go out of your way to get their attention for that fleeting second in a way that appeals to whatever it is that they think their morality is, you are in fact invisible until they can gainsay something from your existence, whether it's the photo op of giving you food or a blanket or what have you, or unless of course they're brandy and there are not enough witnesses around for them to opposition you for doing something strange for less than a bit of change. Unless of course there's a mess that you are making, you are visible. People avert their gaze. Not in the casual way, the solipsistic modern way of staring into a phone until the world disappears. No, it's the active avoidance of eye contact. It's the head and shoulders turning away from where you are. It's the not seeing you so long as you are quiet and not causing any actual problem. You're not lowering the property value. You're not begging for change or other things. You're not a person. You are part of the landscape. You are something to be stepped over, stepped around, avoided, not interacted with. It becomes an affectation. It becomes easy to do. You get a chance to see a lot of life, a lot of the people, because they're so busy making sure that they don't see you that they reveal more and more of themselves. And this is a place where Maddie has existed for a very long time. So the sudden attention, the adulation, the perception, being perceived, is not quite as comfortable as she acts. She's had a lot of practice shifting between the two. Normal existence, her usual normal, being the gift du jour for the cult Church of Helena, being the newest adherent, being appreciated, given accolades, and being given opportunities to rise through the ranks and become, to the attention of the deacons and the assistants, and being able to enter into the purification chamber where everything changed. So she winds down, and the cop finally has backup, and they're moving through the crowd looking for the hooded black male that was tearing through the terminal that caused this, and then the preacher talking about margaritas and various other things while they're lost in the mix and trying to find their way. You too find yourself back on the bridge where Theo has managed. Still fixated on the blood on the gentleman across the bridge's cheek, because while he did have a lesson in whom to panhandle to, didn't stop him from continuing to panhandle. Now he's using his battle wounds as a reason to draw attention, to step out of the invisibility of the unhoused. He's using everything to continue making money. Right? And Theo is watching him.
That's it. Kind of step in front of Did you call the Uber?
For a few seconds, he just kind of stares past you, through you, over to the guy who's panhandling. You can see it almost like he was zoned out, completely checked out. And then little by little, his eyes begin to fill with, I'm sorry, what?
You're supposed to be calling an Uber to get us back to the shelter so that we could look for your fire.
Yeah, I checked out. I'm no good in this situation. It took everything in me not to go and talk to that guy over there. Points to that bloody man so she can see the blood that's all over the place.
And I asked you if you needed to eat before we got back, and you said you have certain proclivities. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to be about. But
I use my phone and call and give them the code 3634, and it'll give us a free ride. I can't even concentrate enough to use my phone.
I take it from him, follow the directions, and then just get us our ride. But while we're waiting for the ride, I guess we're gonna have to like walk the street level because we're on a bridge, right?
Yep, you're on a bridge right over the river. You're on the sidewalk portion of the bridge, not across the graded center that all the trucks and cars and what have you pass over. But each slightly heavy vehicle, everything heavier than a sidekick, causes the bridge to bounce and underneath your feet. Not actually visibly bounce, but you can feel the passing of every large vehicle, and you realize that that's real water down there. And well, kindred and water typically don't mix because, well, you're dead.
Yeah, Esther's not a fan. She starts walking towards off the bridge. She walks off the bridge. Looking back at you again. Okay, so what do we need for you to eat? So that you can get your head back on straight.
He leans over to her ear and just whispers about his predator type, waiting for her eyes to go wide.
But for him, what does that mean? For the average kindred, what predator type actually is how you've imprinted on getting sustenance. And that sustenance is, while your intrusive thoughts, while the supernatural aspects of your personhood wants life, it wants the sanguination and extinguishing of life itself, it will settle for a particular variety of blood. How you get it is part of that dance to get that toe curling release. Doesn't mean that there aren't any other opportunities for you to feed. It's just that's how you've imprinted.
For him to enjoy it, I sure have to be involved, whether mental or physical.
So you need like a professional.
If
Or
we need to
somebody
find
that's
someone to torture, I'm sure we can find someone who maybe deserves it more than others. I mean, we could maybe try to attract a creep. who we could torture?
I'm good with that.
That's the thing I will leave to you two, because I believe in consent.
Yeah, I've got enough torture. They consent. He says his eyes are not quite there.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
He says with a small smile, "Oh, I've heard enough torture. They consent. They definitely consent."
Yes. Well, seeing as I'm a young woman in Chicago, maybe I can attract the sort of attention that a young woman normally wouldn't want from a mortal who is all too willing to give it.
I can work with that.
That's just having a very strange moment of deja vu, but from the opposite side. This feels like that night at the church with the lady in the the minivan, but from the opposite side. And I'm just like rubbing her temples. Okay, can you wait till we get back to the shelter, and then once we're at the shelter or near the shelter, I'll let you guys off out of the car early, and then I'll get there and wait for you to come back and see you punished.
Sounds
It
good.
would be cool if you were a part of it too, but sure, I guess that'll do in a pinch. More the actual Theo is kind of there.
So I'm assuming the Uber gets there eventually.
Yeah, it's not that long at all. It's forever if you were an uply mobile member of the living world who had to be where they had to be as quickly as they had to be there. And why is it taking so long for this fucking car? But you all manage to have your conversations and not freak out and not be watching the seconds tick by. Before you know it, the black on black, murdered out Rivian arrives. The driver letting down the window. You guys, the S. Grundy party?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's us.
All right, sounds like a plan. And you can hear the locks being thrown.
Oh my god, thank you for coming.
Yeah, sure thing. So, Rogers Park, that's a long way. Why don't you guys just take the red line to get closer? Like, I could have saved you a couple. Just, like, we're clear. You know this is going to be $96, right?
Oh my god, I can't stand trains. Just gotta take a personal car.
Yeah, we're good.
I get it.
We got it.
People are just so smelly. Like, why would I want to go on public transportation?
I don't know. $5 beats 96 in most days. You guys need a water or anything?
No, we're good. And she helps her, like, quietly fold up the stroller because that was part of their whole blown cover. But she, like, helps her put it in the back seat and slides it. Kind of gets it.
What was that, Hess?
She has helped Madeline fold the stroller up real quick and stick it in the back and gets in with her, leaving Theo to either switch in the back with them or try to get the guy to sit in the front. But we're also assuming that we're going to try to keep it low key in the car and not say anything that could be masquerade breaching.
Gotcha. Oh my god, water's gross. Like, why would you ever want to drink that? Just like flavor water or anything like that?
It's filtered Fiji water. Supposedly better for you. Different taps. I don't know. But some people get thirsty, and you wouldn't believe how many people are drunk this early in the evening.
Oh my god, I know. All my friends are drunk all the time. But no, I don't want your Fiji water. That's like gross and far away.
Yep. Just like Rogers Park.
Hey, can I? If you could get us there a little faster, it's a little extra 20 in it for you.
Oh, don't worry, I got you. Normally, it'd take about just about an hour, but that's because most people are stupid and they get on the Dan Ryan or they try to take Lake Shore down and around. But we're gonna cut over to Western. There's a few more lights, but it's usually a lot clearer once we get, once we get past Grand. It just opens up. 3 lanes, not too much traffic till we get through Logan's Park, and we'll be there before you know it. You guys don't mind a little music, do you? He didn't even stop to really ask. It's more of a passive aggressive, as he immediately puts on Wayne Newton, his 1980s Las Vegas review, the entire concert album, getting along. And while Wayne Newton has a voice of a crooner from a different age, your driver has the voice of a frog who has spent a lifetime smoking crack.
I don't even know who this is. Put on Taylor Swift. I don't know who this is. It sounds old.
This is just kind of shaking her head and thinking of how horribly things went tonight. Ooh. And how horribly things have been going in the past week.
On a scale of 0 to way fucked up, you guys are surprisingly more in the win column than not. It is a matter of perspective and perception. Overall, you all have managed to stand up to, deal with, adjust to, acclimatize to that are harrowing even for kindred. You all together have accomplished more than either of you all would have separately. Your individual strengths adding to your total growth, leading to you to this gestalt being of, well, a Voltron of fuckery. You've all managed to skate past, overcome, vanquish, elude and evade problems that would have otherwise had each of you staring into the morning sun. Arriving back in Rogers Park. Arriving back at the North Pole. Finding yourselves once more in the climate you are accustomed to. You see the same fingers on, hanging on the corners. You see the same folks leaning out windows. You see the flow that you've grown accustomed to. Everyone knows that each room has a certain sound and a certain pressure that you know when that changes, when the energy shifts. You know when things are different. And it takes some doing getting used to the sound of particular rooms at particular times. But that same happens to particular neighborhoods at particular times. There's different feel and energy when things are off, which makes when they're not music to the ears. It makes it a welcoming embrace of being safe, being secure, being home. So arriving back in Religious Park, the evening's plans having gone awry. Arriving back in Religious Park with everything working as it should. Theo, what's your predator type again?
Trapdoor.
Take some doing. You have certain places that you know, a particular place you know, where you can get your jollies, you can get you what most enthuses you from your guests. But in a pinch, there are certain other things that will almost do. It's the difference between, the Aldi's hazelnut spread and actual Nutella. A lot of it is all about perception. The same ingredients being used in the same quotient, but the perception of the jar changes how it tastes going down. As a trapdoor, would you be so kind as to, with a +1 from Madeline's assistance, roll an approximation of your hunt, which is just go ahead and roll dexterity plus stealth +1 for distance and finding prey that most gets your engine revving. There is a choir of saints crying, throat singing the passing of one angel or another. Now, here's the question. As you begin your predations, as you initiate and follow through with obtaining all of that gloriously lovely vitae, would you fight for control, or would you give yourself over to it?
Yeah, this time he'll give himself over to it.
Maddie, watching, keeping lookout, being a helpmate to Theo in this moment, having seen what flagellation and the sharing of pain could do, does Madeline stay for the entirety of the hunt, keep watch over Theo?
I will help to bring the prey into the trap, but I think it would be maybe too re-traumatizing too recently, since she was embraced and the violence where she was embraced. She's going to step out of the room and watch the street.
While they hunt, is there anything that Hestia is in the midst of doing? Considering that she drops them off and she continues on her way, she makes it back to the shelter, but she is well aware that she is leaving a ravenous kindred, a newly embraced child there, to their own devices.
Oh yeah, she's aware, but in the course of things, in the grand scheme, that is the lesser of two evils for her right now. She is going to go inside. And usually when she's stressed out about things, the thing that kind of calms her is checking on the shelter. She does rounds. She goes to check on people, check in with Amalia. So as soon as she gets in, that's where she heads. I go to the kitchen, make sure everything's okay.
Sounds like a plan. Would you still kind of go ahead and roll? Would you be so kind of go ahead and roll your charisma and leadership? And while that's happening, we turn our eye back to the exsanguination of life, because that's what happens at Hunger for. The moment that gloriously enlivening bit of blood soaks into the creases of Theo's tongue, it is a foregone conclusion that his victim no longer exists. They don't even exist as a victim. They literally exist as a walking Capri Sun on legs. And he intends to make sure that he slurps up every corner of that pouch, that mystery juice that has no color and has no actual vitamins or actual fruit or actual anything, but tastes so heavenly. It's astronaut food. And as he divests them of their existence, is there any convictions that Theo has that might assist in ameliorating his conscience when he comes back to himself, to find his prey divested of everything about them?
It does not look like it. I'm going to say no. There's nothing that looks like it's going to help him in this instance.
These things happen, unfortunately. Or as they cease to be. As they cease to be from the moment that they actually entered into this space. There's nothing for them now except for the cooling flesh. Outside of the door to this particular storefront that hasn't been used in years, that you all use as your playground, you and Natty, the new member of your coterie, is there anything that Theo is attempting or preparing to do, realizing that he has caused the end of another person?
Best way to dispose of the body so that it's not found anytime soon, so I can use this playground once again.
Well, the grocery store across the alley, they don't lock their dumpsters like they're supposed to.
Are there any cameras over there, like that between here and there, that I would get captured by?
No, you don't remember any cameras over there. And most of the cameras on the blocks are watching the street, not the alley. And most of the cameras on people's doors are, again, watching the street, not the alley. Most. Of course, there's some paranoid persons who watch their garage and watch their back entryway, or have a camera that's facing such from some protected distance inside their yard, along their gutter, or otherwise. But that's not the average. The average person is, they want to make sure that their packages from Temu and Amazon arrive and don't get stolen, or if they do get stolen, at least they get the identity of the person who stole them. Not to prosecute them, but just to put up on Facebook or TikTok and let everybody know that that person was a thief. Package pirate.
In that case, just to be on the safe side, triggers, goes to the machine, drag it to the dumpster, dump it, and then leave.
And go ahead, drop that lovely rouse for Ghost in the Machine. And while that's happening, you know, based on Theo's hunger, that the person you lured inside would cease to be. And while she's cognizant enough of her current emotionality, the potential of harm in watching it happen to someone else, it's without a shadow of a doubt just as triggering, knowing the outcome. Just like the deacons knew the outcome of moving you through the ranks, your last moments breathing, being guided into the purification room so that you can properly cleanse yourself. The last moments being you alone in a bath designed for ancient Roman, Grecian gladiators. It was perfectly temperatured. It was perfectly solemn. The rushing of the water causing positive ions in your body to be released. All of the labors, loves lost of previous moments built to this. As you cleansed, purify yourself for the next step, for being guided into the greater mysteries of the church cult Helena. They knew the whole time. The deacons knew. The deacons knew you were not long for this world. And instead of giving you the opportunity of you still may have chosen to go along, but being caught unawares, being unprepared, not being consensually there, turned what could have been an epiphany to your own personal horror story. Standing guard, standing watch. What, if anything, is happening, going on with Madeline, knowing that the person inside is experiencing the greatest pleasure of their existence and won't experience anything else?
She is definitely experiencing a combating duality in her mind. At once struggling to embrace the new reality of her world, that bloodletting and death has to be accepted on some level in order to maintain the lives of herself and these new friends she's finding herself care about as the evening drives on. And her humanity, her sense of betrayal. And this conflict takes a toll, I think. And so if Theo comes back to get Maddie, he's going to find her crying. So sobbing. That's what she's up to.
And as the sound of grief watches over Theo, as he steps back to a physical reminder of the quivering of his own pale, thin soul inside his personage. Less than 2 miles away at the shelter, as Hessian, as Donnell, looking as if he's had more than several quick nips during his lunch, which you know that usually he takes in the office by himself. You've never seen Donnell really weak. Everyone living is weaker than you are, Heshio. That's not what's at play. As you and Amalia finish her washing dishes and preparing for the next service, as the potatoes come to a boil and the butter is being added, blah, 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 she's going through the motions of turning what anywhere else would be flakes of cellulose masquerading as potato. What she uses fresh, actual potatoes, many of which have been grown on the, property illegally, because, in Illinois and being a farm state, there's a certain way that things are supposed to be gone, and if they're feeding more than X number of people, then you need to have a licensure with the Farm Bureau, and it's very horribly beyond the pale bureaucrat. Because of the sheer number of people that this subsistent garden is used for, it quantifies as a business venture, which means you need to have your licensure from the Farm Bureau, and it's a mess. Just the moment that you do, it's the moment that you become beholden to which potatoes you can grow, how often you can grow them, which other crops and herbs can be within close proximity, what you are using as a pesticide, natural or not, and various other facets, including the proper pH of the water being used. But needless to say, you've never seen Donnell weak. Emotional. Passionate. More than occasion, brave. But weak, something that causes a tremor of doubt to grow. Because maybe Amalia's right. Maybe his occasional dipping into the sauce has grown into perhaps him dipping into something more. You've heard of all of the increased cutting of narcotics with various things, up to and including fentanyl. For many, it's a rumor, a wives' tale, because it doesn't take that much, and it's exposure to it. It's just a game of roulette with one's own self. Yet, watching him winded, coming back from taking out the trash and reloading the boiler with more potato, and needing to sit down, his eyes bleary and red around the corners. The only thing missing is a tremor. You know all the signs of cirrhosis. You know all the signs, the jaundice, the yellow eyes, the weakness, the shortness of breath, the inability to stay cognizantly on task. And you find yourself questioning, has he always been so divergent, moving from one task to the next, back to the first, and on to the next? Is that how he's managed to do so much with so little? Not staying on any particular task, that is. As he sits, catching his breath, he notices you watching and he smiles. And from a distance, you're not sure if it's a trick of the light. Maybe it's just you. Maybe it definitely probably is just you. Maybe you're worrying too much, but his teeth are a little yellower than they should be. Like he spent several nights up smoking, or in his case, several days up smoking, back to back to back to back. The sort of smoking you do when you're only half aware and completely altered. The sort of smoking that went out of style in every place except for where the illicit was being done. Because it's hard to chain smoke when you have to get up and go outside with every cigarette. It's hard to chain smoke if you're at a bar or you're at a restaurant. Or if you're somewhere public where there are social mores and taboos in play. But if you're in a trap house, no one cares how much you smoke, as long as you brought enough for everybody. If you're in a shooting gallery, no one cares how much you smoke, provided you offer more than two those nearby. The only thing missing is the shake. True. You know for a fact that DTs, that he's gone so far into his drinking and inebriation that he's already started to do damage to his kidney. Irreversible damage. You while away the time, shooting the shit with Amalia, keeping a loose eye on him. And as he brings the last stack of trays in, unfortunately you see it. Small. It's on his offhand. But it's there, that inability to keep his hand still. There's a scent wafting off of it. Sweat. Something bordering on ethanol. There's a look. His eyes, his pupils are too pronounced. They're dilated. And he continues on about his way, stopping at the front desk and doing this and the other, and moving from one task to the next, to the next, to the next, to back to the first one, to the next one, to beyond that, then back. He is still his whirling dervish, but it is clear from every sign that you see that he's in late stage addiction. Point where functional addicts begin to show signs.
When she gets out of earshot, and it's just touch and Amalia, she's going to put her hand on Amalia's forearm, stalling whatever movement she's making and getting her attention. Looking up at this woman, she trusts implicitly most of the time. I think we're losing her. And I don't know what to do about it. I'm not ready to lose him. But I don't think he's going to listen if we try to save him, I don't. I don't know what to do.
Now, girl, you know what to do. You know what and what not to do. You know, everybody's got to get hit there. Rock bottom. Some folks rock bottom a little bit lower than others, but it's still the bottom. You got more luck than others, I suppose. Maybe you can show him his rock bottom without letting him actually have to crash against it. It's the only thing you can do. It's only a matter of time when you think about it. Working around all of us, those who have suffered, those who still suffer with addiction in their own way. Got faith in you. Yes. Oh, sorry, Miss Green. He knows that. But
Stop it. You know better. In front of others, I guess it's Miss Green, but when it's just me and you, be real about this, okay? I came to you as a friend, not as an employee.
I love him almost as much as I love you. But I ain't fool enough. No, I got any say as to what he does. I tried and he told my head off. It's bad enough it was just me and him when his old man died. He know that I care for him, but some things are, well, tough to deal with. This is one of them. As strong as he has been, putting up with all of my issues, Sebastian's issues, George's issue. I tell you, that man, he got 4 jobs, including here, and he works here full time. And then your girlfriend coming through here, breathing down everybody's neck, and if not for him, she'd drive everybody else crazy. He's doing his best, and credit where credit's due. He's hanging on a lot longer than I did. Of course, his pressures is different. There's only so much I can do. I held the mirror up to his face, and he bald-faced told me that he wouldn't use it, and that I see the demon in the bottle in everybody. I've been there. As you don't remember, before I came here, I went from being on top of the world, the chief of my entire industry. You know how many women have won the Michelin? Let alone 2. You know how many at one time I was the chef for 5 out of the top 10 restaurants in Chicago. And of course, they couldn't show my face to anybody that mattered. Here's a little southern black girl running their kitchens, out cooking the men, out controlling the kitchen better than the man. When I was coming up, no matter how good you were, no matter how much of the chef's job you actually did, the chances of being made a chef, 1 out of 10 million. If you look the way that I did, if you smoked the way that I did, if you fought the way that I did. He ain't that good, but he's damn close. And just like me, he don't have to crash and burn under the pressure himself. We just gotta be there to help pick up the pieces. And unless, of course, you think you have the strength to show him what rock bottom looks like, convincingly enough that he doesn't have to smack down. He doesn't have to half bury himself in all of his failures to realize what it was that he'd been pissing away. His old man's death hit him hard. And some people just aren't ever going to be the same afterwards. You know what I mean?
And nods. She's thinking everything like I said. She's chewing on and thinking about. Nods and just kind of pats Amalia's arm and walks back towards Donnell. She doesn't quite know what she's going to do, but she has to do it and has to do something quick. She's also now just looking to see where the other two are, thinking they should be back soon so that they can track down Theo's sire. Hopefully she hasn't already done what he's expecting to his brother, but her most pressing thought is Donnell.
In the distance of the shelter, catching Donnell near the front desk, just as Theo and Madeline arrive. Them having shared whatever conversation that they shared, them having shared whatever death or life that they've shared. There's a odd moment for all three of you all. None of you all actually have a home. Not as far as such things go. Not that you don't have a house or didn't have a house. Not that you don't have a place that you called your own or call your own. Madeline has several boat holes across Rogers Park. Madeline has access to several apartments and friends' apartments and couches that she could at any point technically call her own. Theo has boat holes and information hubs and server closets attached to various apartments and across the city. Hester has several hidden havens, places with memories and things that matter. But none of you all have a home, a place where you are safe and secure from the entirety of the outside world, a place where you can be 100% all that you might hope to be. Save here. Save here in the shelter's haven. Save on the grounds of this premises. Save here. You all come home, and Hesha's seconds, steps from closing into conversational space with Donnell. It is 50 after the hour. Thank you all for playing, and I'll see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
It was an emotional roller coaster. We went all over the place.
Yeah, what a session.